It's 6:30. I call the meeting to order. We were planning a non-public tonight for legal, but legal isn't ready yet, so we're not doing that. I don't have any other comments. Are there any public comments at this point? Sandy, here's a microphone. Okay.
Just a couple of questions. Did you get my text?
Which one?
The only one I've ever sent you.
Well, I don't know. I didn't see. What was it about?
The second one is a question. It relates to the second question.
Okay.
Why has not the work been done here on the side of the town hall that I asked about a month ago to have done?
Yeah, I did get your text. It's supposedly going to happen. We need to get the gravel and put it in there. That's
It isn't supposed to be gravel.
what's it supposed to be?
It's stones.
Oh, well,
That's
I call it gravel, but I mean, it's not the little stuff.
Well, the same as what is there, but there needs to be a lot more.
Okay. Yeah, I call that gravel.
They've got a stone pile up
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. So I don't know why it wasn't filled, but it was supposed to have been.
Okay. I'll keep an eye on it.
Okay.
We can
Thank
ask
you.
Kent to put it on his
Yeah.
next week's agenda.
Yep.
Or the end of this week.
Yep.
And why wasn't it done a month ago?
It was supposed to have been done. I don't know
Yeah.
why. Any other public comments? Okay.
We'll do Mike first so we can get him out of here.
Yeah. Okay, Mike, you're up.
All you need is for us to sign something and Carol's gonna stamp it for
Yep.
us.
Yeah, you should be using the microphone. Otherwise, no one can hear you on
It's
the
already
recording.
on.
So this is for the triangle conservation piece. So this is the final step. And Scott and I are going to meet with Madden tomorrow morning. And they're going to head down to the county court and file the paperwork. So it'll pretty much be all done. So,
Okay,
and I do have a Mylar and a print for records for the town. I guess I should just give them to Carol.
yeah, give them to Carol.
Yeah, okay. So
I thought they was two Mylars that we were supposed to have, no?
one Mylar got filed,
Okay,
but Monadnock filed it.
okay.
And then
Okay.
the
Yeah, that's
second
fine.
Mylar is,
We have one that we usually bring up to.
yeah, and we
and then
can keep one,
Yep.
right? So.
Who's got the thing to sign?
George's got him
Okay.
here.
So I'll just add on, well, I got the microphone, right? I got the bully pulpit. We did have our public comment meeting last month on the Fisk conservation easement. So we had two people attend. But we went through and did the presentation and so we would expect that we're going to get an invoice for a portion of the survey, which is ongoing. I don't think it's been completed yet. And then that will be imminent. And then there'll be probably towards the end of the year when they close on it, there'll be another invoice for the balance of the numbers. So the invoice that we expect to get for the survey will be about 15,000, our share of it. So when I get that, I'll process it. I'll get it to Carol and then we should be good to go. Since the last meeting, we did a contingent approval of the Concom to spend their money post the public comment meeting. So,
Okay,
okay.
and she's should be notarizing it now.
Mike, do you have, does this other stuff have to be signed or I'm just notarizing the select board right now or
Yeah, and then she will get.
the other signature? Okay.
Okay, do we have anything on the library fence? Any update on that?
No, nobody knows anything, and I think it's just because it's faded in the sun.
Okay,
So we need to see if we can find that money so we can get that done this year.
yep.
I don't know where we would just want to put it as,
Well, it's maintenance. We could do it as maintenance.
if we have money in the maintenance, $2,000 we have a quote for.
Yeah,
And I mean, the first time is gonna be the worst time anyways. I'm sure it'll be cheaper after that, but the first time, I don't know if you've ever seen anybody paint a fence, but you pretty much have to stand on your head while you're doing it.
yeah, or spray it. Okay. We all set on this one? I'm assuming yes. So next up, community power.
So we're gonna let LaSalle know that he can go?
I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are we doing? Sorry, I'm trying to notarize and listen and. What about LaSalle?
Can we email him and tell him it's a go and to do it,
Tell him to go.
to do the library fence?
Okay.
So I'm Robert Wills, Chair of the Community Power Committee and Renewable Energy Task Force. Deb, who's a member, is here, and Andrew from Community Power New Hampshire. We're here to start moving on agreeing to join with Community Power. And the steps in that would be to sign the two agreements that we talked about last time. And just briefly, everyone knows that the main benefit of community power is lower costs to the community, but there are others. And so they're listed on the front page of my handout.
Mhm.
It's important to know how it works. So the second diagram shows what CPC&H has, where the operating costs and revenue and reserves and energy costs are listed. So basically, money comes in from customers, it goes into net revenue reserves and results in customer savings. When you're working with an investor-owned
Oh,
utility.
give me 2 seconds. I want to
Yeah, sure.
check this outside here.
Yeah. We could.
Okay.
Okay. So if we buy power from Eversource or a utility or from a broker, they take a fee and they return that money to their shareholders. In the case of a coalition like this, which is like a co-op, the savings accrue to everyone. So in general, we can expect lower electricity prices. Going to the second side of the handout. So first off, CPC&H has responded to all the questions or most of the questions that the lawyer brought up.
Mhm.
And they're available for you to read if you want to. But the bottom line on all of that is that they're moot. They're irrelevant because the contracts cannot be changed. They have been voted in by 50 members now. So a change in these agreements that you have in front of you would take a unanimous vote of 50 other towns, and it's just not going to happen unless there was something serious that came up. But I think the other towns have signed on, and so they're happy with what they're dealing with. So the main question is what Ken brought up at our last meeting looking at signing these agreements, and that is what are Temple's legal and financial liabilities? Now, Andrew answered this in depth, and he pulled out all the parts of the contracts and listed them out, and you have a copy of that in email. I've summarized here for you. So first off, Temple's agreements with CPC&H explicitly protect us from all liabilities but one, which is called early termination. Once in operation, CPC&H buys power on behalf of all customers. Some purchases are short-term, most are of the order of 6 months, but some may extend for as long as 36 months or 3 years. The termination clause in the agreement with CPC&H states that a town may become liable for losses related to long-term power purchase contracts if it ends its membership before these contracts expire. So the main point coming back from CPC&H is such an event is unlikely and manageable. First off, we would have to withdraw as a town from the coalition and have a reason to do so. This is the town as a whole terminating its membership. And that is different from being a customer of CPC&H. Any or all of CPC&H's customers in Temple can opt out with 30 days notice with no liability to themselves or the town. So if all 500 people, due to some mismanagement in CPC&H or political sea change, decided that they wanted out, then they could do it individually. But the way to completely avoid any penalties is to give notice and wait out the period, which may be 6 months or it may be 0. And in that case, if you wait out the period, there's no liability. The worst case, you would have to wait 3 years. Number 3, the liability is related to forward long-term purchasing contracts made on our behalf and the current resale value of those contracts. If power costs are escalating, then there may be no liability at all. We're not liable for the whole purchase price, only the difference between purchase price and resale value. As members of CPC&H, Temple accrues a share, this is 4, of the joint reserve. So a small percentage of every 10 cents a kilowatt hour, 8 cents a kilowatt hour that we pay goes into the joint reserve. That is accounted for against Temple as our share of the total joint reserves. And if we leave the coalition, our share of the accumulated joint reserve will be paid back out to the town, minus any termination liability. If the share of the joint reserve is greater than the termination liability, if any, then we would still receive some cash back. So if the town chooses to withdraw, the liability can be managed simply by asking CP&H the extent and timing of the liability and choosing to wait for the appropriate waiting time. That's the answer. And the way I see it is this is a manageable liability. We know there's a potential liability from one of the wheels falling off the grader, but we manage it by doing appropriate maintenance.
Right. I want to make something clear for people that might be watching the recording.
Yeah.
So the town has to wait until the termination period.
That's right.
However, every customer in town could withdraw from the program and you're free to go with any power company you want. So the liability is really non-existent.
That's right.
That's what it comes down to.
We can't really imagine any reason why a town would want to withdraw when there's a financial benefit to its members.
Right.
It would only be if there was some major mismanagement at CPC&H, and we know that everything they do is well managed and with highly professional organizations and subcontractors.
Right. The most likely scenario that I can imagine would be that somehow Eversource manages to buy electricity dirt cheap and slashes their rates, but that's very unlikely to happen.
That's right. Well, Andrew could explain to you that we actually have an edge on that. CPC&H hasn't it? You can explain the edge. It's about the timing.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you for the time this evening to explain things. As Rob said, I'm the community outreach coordinator, and in terms of rates, the utilities for decades have not been able by law to benefit from the provision of this default power. So it's a pass-through. They just have a date in the calendar, 2 dates, in fact, one in June and one in December. And December 22 is a very bad day because that's when rates went up to 22 cents a kilowatt hour. The coalition, its only business is procuring power at advantageous periods. And so we buy tranches of power. We take advice from internationally renowned advisors who are always looking at the markets. And so our purpose is to make sure that we're in the best possible position to provide competitive rates against the utilities. As I sit here tonight, we are in the week where all this is getting finalized for the August 1st through January 31st rate period. I can tell you that Eversource has announced its rates. They are a little confusing, but the numbers that we're seeing are in the 10.4 to 10.7 cents a kilowatt hour for customers. So right now, you're actually paying 8.2 cents because of a refund that Eversource were mandated to do through previous overcharging.
Right.
But they're now coming into line with the other utilities, with the Unitil and Liberty, and they're going to be all in the sort of mid to high tens. The coalition will announce its rates formally on Thursday. Our current rate is 8.1 cents, and we're hoping to maintain a good delta between the Eversource rate and the new CPCNH rate coming August the 1st, which would be the rate period that Temple would be in a position to leverage come October, which is the next launch period.
Right.
So we're hoping we'll continue to maintain that. We've successfully been able to undercut all the 3 investor-owned utilities throughout the time we've been operating since the beginning of last year.
Okay. I don't have any more questions. Anybody else got any questions?
The first part of this came out, you said some purchases are short term, others are 6 months, others are 36 months. Who is the 6 month and who is the 36 months? I mean, this is confusing to me.
We're purchasing power on an ongoing basis. We're purchasing from many different sources on a very volatile, competitive marketplace. What we say in our policies is that we will not and cannot procure power for longer than a 36-month contract. But in reality, the vast majority of what we're purchasing is in and around the rate, the period that we're purchasing for. So the one that's just coming up in August.
It's basically every 6 months.
Yeah, it comes around every 6 months, but we're purchasing power around those periods for, sometimes it's almost down to day trading, sometimes it's monthly contracts, sometimes it's a few months. This 36-month concept is only for a very small slice of the power that we procured for Temple. So Rob's point is that if you were to exit and notice us, that piece that's anything more than a month or two would be a small percentage of the whole picture for Temple. But it's difficult to explain it in any more detail because we're doing this all day, every day, rather than just procuring on one date certain every 6 months. We create and set a rate one day every 6 months, but that's not how the power is procured that underpins that rate.
But if the town went to town meeting and said, no, we don't want this anymore, we have to wait out to 3 years.
No, what we've tried to explain to you is that you are required to give a notice, and that will trigger a response from the CEO, who will immediately consider Temple's situation at that moment. It's a hypothetical situation that varies depending upon when that decision is conveyed to the coalition. As Rob was explaining, you will then understand what the actual picture is in terms of what power contracts have been procured and how we can get you out from under that in the earliest possible manner. It requires, the contracts have to say 36 months because that is a potential for a small fraction of your procurement, but it isn't you're not on the hook for all that time. And what we would expect you to do is express an interest in an early termination agreement. That will give you the information that Temple needs to know for exactly how long it will take for Temple to be completely absolved of any of its liabilities. It is possible and conceptual that a town may say, we just want out. And that's when we get into liabilities. And as Rob again has explained, over time, once you launch, you will be part of the coalition and accruing these reserves. And the reserves, I mean, right now, I've got a number from March 31st that just in 1 year, the coalition has over $9 million in reserves. And each of the communities that have launched have a slice of that. It's in the eventuality of a termination that becomes important, because that slice is money that will be returned to the town of Temple, net of any liabilities that Temple has. So it's just a concept that we can't get any more specific because it's a date in the future and we don't know what the circumstances are on that date.
Yeah, but the key thing though is even if Temple is on the hook for 3 years, it really doesn't mean anything
No, it doesn't.
because all the customers can leave and go
Exactly.
somewhere else.
Yes.
Right, right.
For, during that 3 years.
Right. It's zero cost. Zero cost. Yeah.
I think some of the terminology does sort of spook people, and I understand why, but we've created something for the long term. It could be in the future that Temple may separately and voluntarily enter into some other contracts, and those will all be addressed in your member documents. The overarching principle for this is more protecting the interests of Temple, to be quite frank, because you don't want another town doing this and burdening Temple. And that's the quid pro quo, that this will make sure that the activities of any one individual member don't affect adversely
Right.
the rest of the membership. That's all it's really saying.
Yep.
My concern is that I do not want to see Temple's government have to pay for any of this. Because it's not for, it doesn't include the whole town. It just includes the people that want to join. So I don't feel that the town government should be involved in monetarily with anything. Am I talking clearly?
Well, so I think a clear response would be that there are no upfront costs associated with this. All the costs of management are involved in the electric rates, and there would only be a cost if Temple decided to leave the coalition and not wait the waiting period. But as Bill just pointed out, if you choose to leave and wait the waiting time, there is no liability. Anyone can leave personally as a customer given 30 days notice. So I don't think there's any real liability to the town government.
No, and everyone in town is eligible to join too.
That's right.
So,
Yeah. So I'd like to just say to Ken, why are these different length purchase contracts going on? So let's say CPC&H is selling at 8 cents a kilowatt hour. They see an opportunity for a 6-month contract at 5 cents a kilowatt hour, and they think that's a good deal. They see a 3-year contract at 4 cents a kilowatt hour, and that looks like a good deal on the surface. But what happens if another contract comes along, not at 4, but even lower, at 3 cents? Then they would have put their money out at 4 cents when there is a provider at 3. So this is like hedging. You don't want to go out too long and too high because something better might come along. So that's why you don't put all your eggs in the 3-year basket, and you might do some trading that's daily, some weekly, some monthly, some 6 months, and some 3 years. So it's a bit like the stock market, and we can be glad we don't have to play it. There are a lot of professionals who do.
Yeah, for me, it's just the big no liability thing for the town.
Yeah.
Because then we're playing with taxpayer money.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got to sit here and explain to all of my taxpayers why my taxes went up.
Mm-hmm.
Because we did a boo-boo and now we're paying somebody else to fix it.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So I want to make sure that that's
Yeah.
exactly what it is. And I don't have a problem from there. I think it's a decent deal.
Yeah.
They seem to not have all the overhead that everybody else has. And I think it's a wise move on the town's part for the townspeople.
Yeah.
And again, if they choose to opt into it. And that's another question that I have. If we vote this in this coming March, does everybody automatically get enrolled, the whole town get enrolled into this program? Or do they get to keep their current provider, or are they even asked?
Okay. Firstly, you implied that you were looking to next March. Obviously, you understand that you have gone through and received a positive vote this March. So what has happened is that the legislative body of Temple have passed the warrant article that authorizes you, the Board of Selectmen, to act at your discretion and partner with whomever you choose and launch community power at your discretion. What we're here tonight is to invite you to sign the contracts to launch community power through the Community Power Coalition. The next opportunity to launch will be in October. At that point, we will, once the contracts are signed and you're on track to the October launch, there will be a number of milestones that we'll be going through to procure power on behalf of the town of Temple. At the end of, in August, every ratepayer, commercial and residential in the town of Temple will receive a letter. I have a copy of a letter that I could share with the board if you're interested to see what it is. It's in detail and it's mailed to everybody. It explains that if you are on what we call default power, i.e. you receive your power from Eversource, not a third party, you will be automatically enrolled into Temple Community Power as of the 1st of October. And you, the ratepayer, have the opportunity, because it's voluntary, to opt out. But unless you act, if you are a default customer, you will be enrolled and you will save money. If you are with a third-party provider, so you're buying your power through a third party, you will not automatically be enrolled, but you will be eligible to opt into the program because everybody on third party has a different contract. There may be some penalties for exit. It may be that you've got a rate cheaper than the current rate of the coalition. We don't know, but we just leave it open to those individuals to opt in if they consider that the right move. And finally, currently, right here, right now, we're not in a position to serve net metered customers, people who have solar, for example, on their house, and reimburse them for the credits that they get if they make more than they use. So we do not automatically enroll those folks. But again, on an individual one-by-one case basis, they can speak to our customer service folks and figure out if it's in their interest still to enroll. Down the line, we hope we're going to resolve the net metering thing and we will enroll everybody because we can actually reimburse them, but we can't do that right now. So there's those three classes really. The folks, the vast majority of folks, we tend to find like 70% or more of the ratepayers of Temple will be in that default bucket who will be automatically enrolled. Then say 20, 25% may be on third-party contracts. They will not automatically be enrolled, but they'll be invited to join, and they'll receive the same letter, so they'll understand what the rates are and what the deal is. And then finally, the group that are in the net metering bucket.
Thank you.
Our committee has offered to we'll hold forums and we'll hold sessions to figure out how we can help people to opt out if they want, because because some people don't have a computer or whatever. So, or what, but they can do it through the mail too, right?
Yes, and I should have made it clear that letter actually invites them to a mandatory public information session that has to be held within 15 days. So while we're looking at the schedule right now, we'd be looking at the week after Labor Day to have a public information session in Temple where everybody in that letter will be invited to. So even the folks who haven't been paying attention, didn't do town meeting, don't understand what community power is all about, we'll be able to have all their options explained to them on a one-on-one basis. The opportunities are folks to call an 800 number, to go online and to do a self-service or to email. Those are the three options. So folks can make a call if it's what they prefer to do, and they're going to get a trained person on the other end who understands what's going on and will be able to answer any of their questions. That is the mandatory outreach. But if Temple decided it wanted to do other interim events, we would provide the collateral and the support to do the outreach. And your town administrator will receive information cards which explains exactly what's going on and what the rates are and everything, so everybody can understand them.
Yeah, we'll help people call that 800 number or whatever. I don't know how we do that, but we'd look for suggestions.
So you're saying that if we vote to join this thing, that everybody in town is automatically enrolled?
Eversource customers.
And then if I don't want it, then I have to opt out?
That's right. And
I don't want to be automatically enrolled.
Sure. So George, there's a reason for this. These sorts of coalitions and plans have been tried over the last 20 years. And some of the first launches were in Massachusetts, and they didn't work because they were opt-in, and about 3% of people opted in. And obviously, the power of CPC&H is in its buying power. If it holds 3% of the market, it's not going to work well. But if it holds 75% of the market, then it's very powerful and it has a lot of buying capability. So experience nationwide has been that opt-in doesn't work and opt-out works for the community power programs. In fact, the folks who framed this, which are our state legislatures and others, researched this deeply, and they came to the conclusion, and they were told by experts that unless you do opt out, it's not even worth starting. So good.
Yeah, and I would comment, I cannot imagine why anybody is still with Eversource. I mean, there's so many alternate suppliers now. I mean, some are ridiculously expensive, but there are plenty that have historically been cheaper than Eversource. So you save money. Why would you not do it? That's my theory. And in fact, that's what I do.
Yeah. The bottom line is that by being part of CPC&H, most people's electric bills in their energy part, not in the supply part, will drop by about 20%. And that's real money.
Yeah, so the bill will still come from Eversource. Everything will stay the same is another key too.
Right. And Eversource is still responsible for maintaining the lines and all that kind of stuff. It's just the power portion, and it's great. We've saved a lot of money. What we actually do is we go with Eversource during the spring, summer, and fall because we're net metered and we get the credit. Then when there's no power generation going on during the winter, we use an alternative energy supply.
No, that's exactly the situation under the eyes of the state. You know, we are a third-party supplier, but we're a non-profit. We're subject to right to know laws. All of our books are open for scrutiny. Unfortunately, the third-party market is far more opaque. They're much more interested in sending you a flyer that says, call now for your $100 gift card than actually telling you what your rates are going to be.
Yes.
And unfortunately, there's a lot of bait and switching going on where people get a teaser rate and then they're gambling that they're not going to be diligent. And then sure enough, after 6 months, their rate doubles and they don't even notice. And that's,
I notice. I'm very diligent about that.
I'm sure you are, but you are in a very small minority.
Right.
What we're able to do is to help folks that haven't got the time or the appetite to do what you've been doing. And we're keeping an eye on the market. We are incentivized to keep rates as low as possible. So there's not going to be any bait and switch with CPC&H.
Good. Anybody got anything else?
So where we are now, if we want to start the program in October, is that right? These documents need to be signed before the end of July. And so we're not necessarily pushing for you guys to sign tonight, although you could if you felt so moved. We're happy to wait another few weeks, but we really need to know so that we don't put a rush on the management at CPC&H that they would be signed before the end of July.
Right. So I did pass the clarifications you guys provided by legal, and legal basically agrees with what you have said.
Mm-hmm.
The contract's not going to get changed because there's 50 other towns that are already signed up for it. And B, the town really has no liability. So there's no reason not to do it. So. Yep. Yep. I've got that. Right. So, I mean, I don't know why we'd wait any longer. I will make a motion that we sign the, as directed by town meeting, we sign the papers to join the,
Okay.
what's the proper
So
title?
the motions are actually predefined.
Oh, yeah,
for
yeah,
you.
you've got them. We have to adopt those special motions, yes.
Yeah.
Hold on. I think I have a copy of it. I'm looking.
You got one?
You have it? Okay. I think I've got it somewhere in all this stuff, but. Yeah, okay, so I'm gonna make this motion, then we can decide if we're gonna do it or not. I move that the Temple Select Board hereby agrees to enter into the cost sharing agreement and member services contract for the complete service bundle with the Community Power Coalition of New Hampshire, CPCNH, with select board chair as the authorized officer, with elections in Exhibit C, Article 8, Section 2 of the agreement being no delay on commencing procurement, no specified default and optional products, and no set discretionary reserve adders. The 3 no's mean that the program commencement and future changes in these areas will require a full select board approval. Be it further moved that the Temple Select Board hereby approves CPCNH's data security and privacy policy, energy portfolio risk management rates, and financial reserves policy. And that seems to be it. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye.
Abstain.
Okay, you're in. And we'll sign everything. Yeah.
This, I would just like to thank,
So we need to sign the documents though.
I would just like to thank Andrew and Henry, his partner in crime here, on spending all the time to address all the individual questions in the emails and such. I mean, they're a
Yes.
nonprofit and, you know, I just want to be sure that,
It was impressive and thank you for the effort.
yeah, thank you very much, Andrew.
And Bill, the committee has one other question. I think you're aware, Carol forwarded to us, the opportunity to go after a grant for a photovoltaic system. And we've been planning a 25 or 50 kilowatt system for down by the elementary school for quite a while. This looks like it may fully pay for a 25 kilowatt system. So we're asking, can we go ahead with pursuing this grant and probably
Because you're in charge according to the.
and go ahead with, yeah, applying for the grant. We'll probably need to get some quotes from vendors and so on. But if that's okay, no cost to the town, the way we understand it now. And it would cover the electric costs of all the muni buildings outright. So it would be a nice little.
Preface, just add that Rob may be a little bit more optimistic about us getting this grant from the New Hampshire Department of Energy than I am, because when you look through the material, there's tier 1, there's tier 2. We're in tier 2, which is there's going to be less money there. There's not a lot of money, 15 towns there. So we're going to go through all the work of doing it. Hopefully, and we have to be submitted in the next 5 weeks. Hopefully we'll get some money, but I'm not too optimistic.
Well, it certainly doesn't hurt to
But it doesn't hurt. It
research
doesn't
it.
cost
Yeah.
anything to apply.
Due
Just our-
diligence, you try. If
Yeah,
that's,
it's just
if
our
that's all
time.
we got, we can try.
Yeah.
So I
just
will
our-
move
our-
that the-
Our volunteer time, so.
I'll move that the Temple TEEC pursue researching getting a grant for photovoltaic.
And we'll keep you in the loop. Carol, I think the next steps there are all pretty clear. If you could scan the signed documents and then send them off to the people on the list, that'd be good. At the end.
If I could just offer up, I'll give you my email rather than folks on the list, then I can give it one quick pass and then I'll send it to the.
Even better.
Just the cost sharing adjustment, agreement that's signed.
Mm-hmm. Yep. There's 2 signature pages.
Busy right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I should object because there's a motion on the floor. We haven't voted yet, but hey, I don't
Yeah.
care.
And so, yeah, and Carol, the first,
And
there are a couple of places where the dates have to be done too.
no big deal. Oh, another place.
Okay, got that.
Okay, so I made a motion to authorize them researching the grant. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We'll do what we can. So, I'm an optimist. And I think we may have a better than normal chance because we're going for a very small system. 25 kilowatts is at the low end of the range. And that's all we qualify because you're only allowed to go after amount to cover the current electric use, not future. Our goal in time would be to double that to 50 kilowatts and then to start putting heat pumps in on all the buildings, cutting down on the gas and oil.
Hmm.
We're good. Thank
Yep,
you.
You're good.
So I'm gonna
So-
scan these 2 things and send them to you.
Yeah. Thank you all so much.
Okay,
Um,
perfect. Thank you.
It's been a lot
Sure.
of work for everyone and I think it's going to be a benefit to the town.
Okay, do we have any other business tonight?
We got minutes to do.
Yeah, if we could do other business before minutes, if there is any.
I don't have anything. Do you have anything, George?
You know,
Okay, minutes.
we approve the minutes as written.
What'd you say? Is
We move that we approve the minutes as written.
there a second?
The only thing I had was on the second page, very
Okay.
top one.
Okay,
It says sign the letter to the Secretary of State for
Yep.
polling hours.
Yep.
It just said I moved, but no second, no vote.
no, really? I seconded and we did vote for it. Well, we'll do it again if necessary. Well, I think we'll just,
So that was the only thing I had.
yeah, Carol, just say I seconded it and we did vote in the affirmative.
Okay.
You want to make the motion to
George made,
accept as
I move
amended?
that we accept the minutes of the meeting as amended.
I'll second that.
all in favor? Aye. Anything else? Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And we are done.
Short meeting.